Hello everybody, Glass Half Dead here. And today we're going to try this battle report in a slightly different way once again because I'm still trying to perfect it. And you couldn't see me, but I did do air quotes when I said perfect it. The video is going to be running in the background. When I don't speak, I'm going to speed it up. So hopefully this entire video is going to be about 15 minutes. We're going to cram a whole battle report into it. I'm not going to explain the blow by blow, but I'm going to give a quick rundown at the end of each battle round. However, I'm going to give you a little ramble now, just so that I can explain what's happened so far, who the teams are, the mission we're playing, etc. So, first things first, like and subscribe. Hey, kill me. We're playing Recover Intelligence. We're playing it on the new Sanctum Sanctoris. Probably should know what that word is. Sanctum Sanctoris. I don't know, map, which is a map I quite like the look of. If you haven't seen it before, the walls that are printed onto the map count as obscurement if you fire over them. You also it requires your entire movement to go up or down the walls unless you have the fly keyword. And that's it. I guess we're counting that line and then that line, I guess, right? Yeah, sure. So far we have 3 Custodes, they all have Guardian Spears. One of them has made a veteran move up the board. I am playing Drukhari. I have 5 racks, a gunner with Ossifier, 3 mandrakes, well no sorry, 2 mandrakes, 1 Night Fiend, and I also have a rack leader, an Akathist, and that is the whole list, I believe. So at the end of the movement phase, as you can see on the board, I moved a rack onto each of my objectives, and I also have 2 models on the central objective, whereas he only has 1. The reason I'm bringing this up now is because, for the first time ever, I'm using the Deep Strike rules. Of course, they're not called Deep Strike in this particular instance. These are the reserve rules, where I'm allowed to set up to 3 mandrakes outside of 5 inches of the enemy. Now, with where I've deployed them, that could have actually been an outflank. Like that they were almost close enough that I didn't have to do that with the mandrakes. To be honest, I probably could have used a Clavex or a Grotesque to outflank at the back of the board. That would have been very interesting. Certainly, I would have liked to have seen what a Grotesque did to the Custodes. I don't think it would have done much, to be honest. Oh, also a slight note when it comes to the Overwatch that I had to do. Racks don't have any shooting apart from the gunner and the Akathist, so regular racks, no Overwatch. It's only a small thing, but good to note. At the end of the shooting phase, he managed to kill one of my mandrakes, and that was it, which was pretty lucky, to be honest, but luckily I managed to make a 5-up invuln on the other mandrake, and a 4-up invuln on one of my racks. In this particular match, having Prophets of the Flesh on my Grotesques, which is the entire reason I'm taking them, so saves them so much, I've got to be honest. I make a lot of 4-up invulns. So, end of the first round, nothing happened in close combat, it seems, which is a bit crazy. I must have made those sweet 4-ups. However, I managed to score the 2 on my side, which gives me 2 as they're 1 point each, and then I also score the middle, giving me an extra 3, so I scored 5. He scored nothing, because although he has a guy in the middle, I've got 2. quick side note, I do think it should actually be done on wounds, but let's ignore that. And he didn't go into either of his home objectives, so he got no VP. Also, an absolute shocker, I remembered to go to the book and check what my next Power from Pain ability is, which is not something I normally do. I'm quite the forgetter. Now, my opponent actually pointed out a little thing here. So, the gap I'm currently trying to move through, I thought my 25mm base wouldn't fit through because it butts up against the ruin on the right, but then it butts up against a slightly lower bit of wall on the left, which the 25mm base doesn't go through. However, the slightly lower bit of wall on the left was under an inch, so I was able to move over it freely. Otherwise, I would have had to have gone up the wall and down. Just a minor note there. Because, base placement is very important, and it is a very tactical part of the game, and I think that if you are ignoring gaps and in terrain and other bases, you're kind of losing a little bit of the tacticalness that only Kill Team has, and you don't really get in 40k or anything like that. So, very important part of the game, I think. Little quick tactical note here. I charged with my Mandrake and my Night Fiend into his guy. I very deliberately charged with my Mandrake first, just in case he had to soak up an Overwatch that killed him, as I would rather lose my Mandrake than my Night Fiend. Tactics from Glass Half Dead, yeah. Oh, also very minor side note from the Custodes here. When he attacked in close combat phase last round, he forgot to use his Misericordia, whatever it's called, his extra attack, basically. Don't forget to do that, guys. Oh, and of course, when you're using the Misericordia, whatever it's called, don't forget you are not using the big gun, the Guardian Spear's stats, so you won't get the +1 from that. You'll be attacking at strength 5, so the base strength, user strength, because you have to do the attack with that weapon. It's not just a free extra attack. It's an attack with the Misericordia. So at the end of that particular battle round, because my two guys on the right side of the screen there, on objective 4 and 5, haven't moved, I'm still getting 2 from them. And then I had charged in with a third rack into the middle objective, so I've got 3 to his 2, and I am very nicely capturing that, so I get another 5. Now you may have noticed in that battle round, very little happened. I got quite lucky on making my invuln saves, and he just naturally has an amazing save. The homunculus weapons do wound on a 4+, which is good, but they have no AP, so he's saving on 2s. It's a really ineffective way to kill a model. No AP, let me tell you that. Just a quick side note there, if you could hear my voice in the background, if I hadn't split that footage up, as I try to decide whether or not I want to spend a command point to roll, or to attempt to roll an armor save for my Night Fiend there, and I need to roll a 5 up invuln, I sound so disappointed in the game in general, and that I'm having to do that, just so you know. Anyway, I obviously didn't make it, my Night Fiend died. So at the end of turn 3, My opponent, the Custodes, finally gets to score a VP. He gets 3 for the center. However, I still get 2 from my side of the board. And then because I ran up another rack onto his side of the board, that's actually my gunner, who's now being absolutely useless because he can't shoot at anyone. I got another 2 VP there, so I got 4 on that turn. He got 3. Again, this was a very lethal phase for me. I lost 2 racks and a Night Fiend. He lost nobody. He didn't even take a wound. So at the end of turn 5, these rounds begin to get a lot faster. He is slowly killing me, but I actually didn't lose any models in that phase because I have invuln saves, and I'm very lucky. I took a flesh wound on one, but that's it. Anyway, he's now successfully capturing the center by only having one model there. Uh, so getting 3 VP, but he's now also getting the objective on my side of the board. So he's getting a total of 5 VP as he is there, whereas I'm getting 1 and then 2 from his side, so 3. He is slowly catching up. We roll to see if the turn ends. It does not. Thanks to my ability to roll ones, which is high. I'm good at that. On this potential final battle round, I do actually fall back out of combat with my leader. But he then does the same. Can he do that? I guess he can. I mean, I fell back, then he was still in combat. You must be able to. Yeah, that sounds legal, probably. Yeah, it seems fine. With my other rack, I don't do anything because he can't shoot, which sucks. I'd much rather had a Cavalite Warrior sat on those objectives, but I need that VP, so he just sits there. Just a heads up, that was me rolling for an Ossa factor. It wounds on a 2 up, I rolled a 1. Just throwing that out there. And that's the end of the game. I had 21 points, he had 13. So, how do we feel about that? How do we feel about that? He took me down from 10 models to 3. I didn't do a single wound against him. Okay, those are the hard facts, guys. Those are the hard facts. I'll keep that playing in the background actually, so you can watch it if that's what you're doing. I broke, but luckily in Recover Intelligence, breaking isn't a game loss. So, how did I feel? I felt like this was. Okay, so this player is better than me, as I've said before. He normally beats me. He plays better than I do, and this was my first time playing Drukhari for ages, and definitely my first time playing Rax. So I wasn't really playing at my best, I suppose. But I still managed to beat a player that, in my opinion, is objectively better than me. So it was a little bit weird from that perspective. He decimated my team, he broke me, but I almost doubled his victory points. Now we're going to see this same matchup again, probably tomorrow, if I've actually done my videos correctly. And you will see that it goes very differently next time, as he decides to play the objectives a little bit more, and it's a much closer game, I will say. Which way it goes, who knows? Who knows? and that's great. But the fact that he has to play the objectives to get closer to beating me, or to beat me, is very concerning because as a three-man team, I mean, really, you're kind of relying on wiping the enemy. Because if you're having to secure objectives, every other team can do objectives better than you. Custodes are very strong, they're very resilient, they're very killy, but they're not objectives. Like the only thing they can't do is objectives. They can stay on objectives, but they can stay on three objectives tops. Now, if this was a tournament mission, things might be very different because we'd be using secondary objectives as well, and presumably he would have one for killing, and he probably achieved that every turn. But then I would have also played it differently because I wouldn't have been on the objectives quite so much because I would be trying to get people in every board edge, etc., etc. So it's hard to say how it would have gone had that been the scenario. But anyway, the reason I'm so I don't want to say I'm negative on Custodes. I think they're pretty cool, to be honest. And I think this was almost a perfect matchup for Custodes because I've got no AP. I don't really have anything very killy and hitty and shooty. So there was never a fear of him losing a wound, which was bleh for me. But I managed to still beat him. I shouldn't have been able to beat him. Is my concern. And I suppose the big takeaway for me is Custodes. I don't feel they work. Now, both of my regular opponents are going to be running Custodes a lot, so expect to see my thoughts on them evolve and change and to have me lose against them. Um, and as that happens, I will obviously update my opinions. But I thought that everybody might like to see Custodes battle report just to see how they play, how it kind of went down, etc. And there you go. That's all really. Anyway, if you have any questions about Custodes, I'm probably not the guy to ask, but I can try and answer for you. Failing that, more knowledgeable people in my comments section will hopefully answer for you. If you have any questions about Drukhari, I know a thing or two, so I'm willing to answer soon. Hopefully, I wish to be running some grotesques, see what crazy things they can get up to. I'm looking forward to them. I don't think a grotesque would have been good against these guys here because they have damage 2 weapons. They would have just gone straight through my grotesques really. But yeah, okay. Anyway, this has been Glass Half Dead. I hope you've enjoyed this battle report. Let me know your thoughts. Like, subscribe, all that lame stuff that I have to say because call to actions are the thing. And see you tomorrow with another identical match. I believe that goes slightly differently as my Custodes opponent plays the objectives. Okay, anyway, Glass Half Dead. Hope you've all had a great day. Bye.